Renowned as the host of the Vatican, the epicenter of exquisite cuisine, and the fashionable birthplace of the infamous Gucci brand, Italy is embedded with rich culture. And while the Western stereotype of Italian people often depicts loud, grabby, over-gesturing conversationalists, this Italian caricature is quite far from the native culture of this iconic European country. One way the high-context physical culture in Italy can be revealed is through the close contact of a highly populated environment. The limited spatial capacities, specifically in relation to bars, restaurants, and specialty shops, influences Italian communication style by creating a culture of looking without touching. Patrons casually window shop, only entering crowded boutiques with the direct intention of making a purchase, and often window watch from within crowded restaurants, positioning their chairs to take in every element of the moment. Even though most establishments host seating in close proximity, a shoulder-to-shoulder environment, Italians are very intent at keeping the haptics of touch to a minimum. A brisk "after you" is common gesture for intentional management and navigating proximity while in public spaces. And although the haptics of Italian culture vary based on relationship, environment, and sex, it is Italian males who are far more contact-oriented than Italian females. This gendered contact variation is indicative of the power distance between males and females in Italian culture, a representation of Italy's strict gendered verbal code system. In a survey of 492 Italian professionals ranging across 10 companies and 12 cities, a reported 83% of participants were male and 17% were female, reflecting a gap in gender-based representation of professional workers and contributing to the lack of equality in workplace satisfaction. The dialect of Italian language is also gender-specific, hosting masculine and feminine conjugations, and where grammar is often translated in a way that reproduces women's invisibility in a sexist society. Another element of Italy's high-context culture, socially speaking, is the use of gestures. Gestures are emblems of kinesis that can offer insight into unspoken thoughts and are one of the most common stereotypes of Italian communication culture. However, it turns out gestures are not so commonplace, as gesturing within closely confined spaces would invade the personal space of another, increasing potential for unintentional touch. Territoriality and the protection of personal space is highly valued in Italian culture, where even patrons standing close to one another in a bar or restaurant would rhythmically lean in and lean away from one another as a communication of mindfulness. With the classification of social distance as between 4 to 12 feet, Italy's social distance is closer to 1 to 4 feet, a listing of more personal space. Italian communication culture appears to operate much like a symphony, where people engage as individual musicians playing a variety of instruments, yet with the professional mindfulness to not allow any bow, string, stand, or instrument to touch one another. Eye contact is a psychological element evident of Italy's high-context culture as well, denoting an affect display and reflecting mood and emotion. In Italy, paying attention to the right things means making direct eye contact, regardless of power distance, formality, or relationship. Italians' culture of eye contact is described as extensive and prolonged throughout conversation, with special focus on the other person. In intimate conversations, eye contact remains fixed on the one speaking. However, in more casual, public, and social settings, small groups often position themselves facing the center of the room or out towards the street for the purpose of making eye contact with both those close to them and those passing by. The high-context culture and wide-eyed communication style of Italy seems to make sense when considering its history of entrenchment and leadership of a fascist regime, where literature, media, theater, and film were once highly controlled by Mussolini's political advocates up until the 1950s. Any expressed literature or art form deemed offensive to national, religious, and social ethics was either banned or immediately removed from public access, permitting Italians to only see what the government wanted them to see. As Italy developed into a more democratic country through the 1960s and into today, a new balance of acknowledgement and respect for both fact and feelings rises in value within Italian culture. Perhaps the direct eye contact so prevalent and emblematic of Italian communication culture is a way for Italians to truly see for themselves.